And we are rolling on February 2nd, 2016 at UCLA. It's a beautiful day. Sunny as usual. We're about to hear from Greg, who's going to address the question and present an extemporaneous speech on the question, has Donald Trump done more harm than good to the GOP primary?
Hi everyone, my name is Greg, as you heard me say it. Before I answer that question, I have a question for each and every one of you guys today. What is something that is sharp, pointy, double-edged, and can either be used against you or towards you in a battle?
A sword.
That's right, a sword. Now specifically a double-edged sword. In analogical terms, a double-edged sword is something that can yield favorable and unfavorable consequences. That sword is being wielded by the Republican Party, and the name of that sword is Donald Trump. Now to answer the question on the board, has Donald Trump done more harm than good to the GOP primary? My answer is, no, he has not. I think that he has done more good than harm to the GOP primary. And I will provide you with 3 reasons as to why. To go over the 3 reasons, 1, he has brought ideological diversity. 2, he has spurred purposeful and powerful debate. And 3, he has brought a lot of Republican support. He has brought a lot of Republican support to the Republicans. Now, going back to the first reason, Donald Trump has done more good than harm to the Republican Party by bringing in ideological diversity. And by bringing in ideological diversity, he has brought in a lot of attention, a lot of exposure to the Republican Party. And at this point, I believe that the fundamental purpose for having Donald Trump in the Republican Party is to give in exposure. And any kind of exposure is good exposure. And if he's the magnet to that exposure, then he's a good magnet. Now, according to the New York Daily News article published on December 15, 2015, the 5 Republican debates have garnered in 23 and 25 million views, respectively, for both networks, 2 on Fox News and 1 on CNN. Now, one may wonder why so many people tune in to watch Mr. Trump. And once again, this goes to provide substantial information that he has brought in exposure. So many people want to watch him. Now, why is it? Well, according to a UCLA professor, Tom Miller, a debates coach at UCLA, there are 3 reasons why people tune in to watch Mr. Trump. One being is that he provides simple solutions and simple messages to rather complicated and problematic issues. Second being is that he's a good storyteller. And any good spokesperson, any good debates coach will tell you that one of the most essential things to speaking in front of a large audience and getting them to tune in is to be a good storyteller. And the third reason is that Donald Trump uses the element of surprise. He shocks his audience. He brings in unexpected remarks, whether it be rhetoric that is cruel or ignorant. He shocks his audience. Now, the second reason why I believe he has done more good than harm is because he has spurred purposeful and powerful debate. Come on, guys, let's think about it. If it wasn't for Mr. Trump, we would not be talking about controversial issues such as birthright citizenship or mass deportation. And I think that by doing so, he has forced other candidates to step their game up. Now, one person that made comment of this was John Hawkins, a conservative national radio host analysis. And he pointed out that ever since his inclusion, Mr. Trump's inclusion in the primary, people like Ted Cruz went out and called out Mitch McConnell a liar on the Senate floor. Bobby Jindal pointed out that the Iran deal that Obama brought out may very well lead to another genocide, like the Holocaust. And Mike Huckabee pointed out that Mike Huckabee actually threatened to arrest the Westboro Baptist Church wackos if they ever threatened the funerals of mass shooting victims. Now, once again, this is good. This is good that we're having purposeful and powerful debate. This is good for all of us. And because of Trump, this is happening. Now, the third reason why I think Mr. Trump has done more good than harm to the GOP primary is because he has increased Republican support. According to the Gallup poll published on the Wall Street Journal on December 9, 2015, more Americans have identified themselves as Republicans or have identified as leaning towards Republicans ever since Mr. Trump's inclusion in the GOP primary. To extend this idea, once again, any kind of Republican support is good for the GOP because they can further use this support when it comes down to the elections. In summary, I have provided 3 reasons why Mr. Trump has done more good than harm to the GOP primary. To regurgitate those 3 reasons, he has 1, brought in ideological diversity, 2, he has spurred purposeful and powerful debate, and 3, he has increased Republican support. So there should be no doubt in this room that Mr. Trump has done more good than harm to the GOP primary. Now, all the points I mentioned earlier go on to illustrate the favorable consequences of wielding a double-edged sword like Mr. Trump. However, swords are sharp and must be used with caution. Otherwise, the consequences can be deadly. Thank you.
Thank you. 552. Stand up for Buddha, please.
Hi, my name is Susanna.
What's your name?
Susanna.
Susanna. Nice loud speech voice.
Okay.
Susanna. Boom it out so this little mic can hear you.
What is it that I'm supposed to speak on? Is it a critique or is it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
We have a pattern. I guess you haven't been to class much. We start with a positive comment for
Okay.
Greg, and then she'll give a helpful hint on how he might improve.
Okay.
Yeah. So, a positive comment. What did you like about Greg's speech?
I think it was really clearly organized, so you can tell, you can keep track easily of your 3 main points, and all the evidence flowed well with it.
Okay, good. So he told a good story, and it was easy to follow. He gave us a preview. We followed the preview, summed up, concluded, tied back to his sword, as simple as pie, right?
Right.
Good. Thank you. Improvement, please. She's smiling. You have a good smile.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Help him grow.
I don't need to say my name.
Yeah,
My
there's a
name is
pattern.
Sharon.
Hi, Sharon.
I think maybe the voice was a bit monotone. I think having a little bit more maybe volume and emphasizing if there's some important parts, maybe engaging with the audience with that aspect. And other than that, I think it was very his style. So I think it's good.
Thank you, Sharon. Yeah, Greg, I think just to second Sharon's point, to have an emphatic style of delivery, to yellow certain key points. I noticed you typed your speech all in caps. I suppose that's easier to read for you. I recommend you put it in an outline form and maybe go up to 14 or 16 point. And that's easier to see when you're glancing down if that's your goal. But all caps is a little hard to pull out and read. So I wouldn't do that next time I do an outline, okay? Now, let me give you some feedback. Let me first start by saying that I felt you supported your position fairly well. I think there's some things that you can do better, and let me suggest what they might be. You started with a rhetorical question, and the rhetorical question was, how many of you have, what is this mysterious thing? And we all, of course, guessed correctly. The double-edged sword. What we didn't get much of from the double-edged sword was we didn't get the other edge of the sword. We only got, how swell Donald Trump is. And I think that, keeping all Muslims out of the country and putting people on to watch all Muslims may be something we probably don't want to do. That's just me, I don't know. And other radical proposals that have come from his lips, see. And that would be the other edge of the sword, see. Yeah. So, on your thesis, yes, well done and well previewed. You skipped the significance statement.
I realize that.
Dun. So don't skip the significance statement,
I
folks.
realized that when you just told me that I missed the other edge. That was
Yeah.
part of my significance statement.
Yeah, and that's where you sell it to the audience and say, we need to think about it. We may be led by a little Hitler or a new Nazi or a new fascist or a demagogue. I'm really speaking out of church here, but if that's your point of view, or a new Messiah if you love Donald Trump. But he lost in Iowa last night to Ted. Trust Ted, yeah, right. He's leading by 28 points in the next state and so forth. So don't skip your significance statement. So you're right. He has set the narrative for the debate. We weren't talking about immigration, and everyone was skipping over it, and the people in the country are pissed because Congress hasn't acted on it, and people are perceive that it's a problem and no one cares. Whether they're right or wrong, they perceive that no one cares. And Trump has, capitalized on that perception. Similarly, if you heard my wonderful radio interview, the first thing I said why Trump was so effective was he's tapping in on this audience that's frightened, that's afraid, that's poor, that's working for 30 grand a year. College graduates working for 30 grand a year, and they don't see a future. The middle class doesn't see a future. He's tapping into all that, and it's very fertile ground for a demagogue or for a little Hitler to.
You call me saying disenfranchised?
Yeah, disenfranchised. Yeah. On your second book, you quoted the New York Daily News. That was a good quote. I would like you next time, by the way, to move 3 times. Show me that you know how to walk during your speech. Okay, you just failed. Okay. Go back to the center. What were my instructions on how to walk? First thing is never turn to the side. Always keep cheated front. Okay, and you take the step that you're going. So you're going to the right. Step to the right. 2, 3. Good. Stay to the power stance. Work this side of the room, glance over here at Sharon, then step with your left foot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Work this side of the room, glance over at Brianna, and then 1, 2, 3 back to the center, and that will help you relax and punctuate your 3 points and help make you a more interesting speaker. So everyone, I want to see you walk. On your point that Trump has given us more purposeful debates, maybe. You'd have to define purposeful. Trump has set an agenda. The debate where Trump didn't show up, we had some pretty in-depth debates about immigration and other things. Trump many times just engages in, Jeb, you're weak. And a lot of ad hominem, and I'm great, and I'm leading the polls. And I'm not sure how meaningful or quality or great the debate always is with Donald Trump. But maybe you disagree, so tell me why.
Well, my whole point, where I was trying to get at, was that he's confronting other candidates to explain their issues on to explain their positions on certain issues that they would rather not talk about.
That's true.
And it's almost
And
like
he calls him on it.
he
Yeah.
calls him on it.
Yeah.
And right, of course, he uses, you know, uncalled rhetoric on the side,
Yeah.
which looks foolish on his behalf. But what I didn't say that was in my significant statement
Yeah.
is that I'm not a Trump fan.
Yeah.
I just felt like Trump was the main catalyst, the main vehicle to bring in all this attention
Absolutely
to the
right.
Republican Party.
Absolutely
And
right.
that, as in the grand scheme of things, for the Republican Party, that's very advantageous because, you know, like I said before, extending the idea when it comes down for the general elections between, you know, Republican and Democratic, you have all this Republican support that came out of nowhere, and now they're stuck with Republicans.
There's a lot of interest in the election.
On the elections, and that support wouldn't be there if it wasn't for Trump. And I was kind of hoping no one knew that Trump lost, because you guys are kind of throwing it in my face, but
We all read the paper.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, great. And also, by the way, the last debate that Trump walked out on, their ratings went into the toilet. So they dumped their ratings in half. So Trump's not there. The
No one cares
interest goes
anymore.
away. But that supports your thesis a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. So that's a good point. Your summary was good. Your conclusion was good. And your tie back to your thesis and to your intro to the sword was fine. My only trouble with it was we didn't get the other edge of your double-edged sword. Your canai, speak clearly and present clearly. I agree with her comment that you are pretty much monotone a lot of the times, and you need to work on an emphatic style of delivery where certain words are emphasized, but you're not afraid to pause. Finish my speech in the given amount of time. You were on time. Make sure my audience is tuned into me. Let's talk about how sticky his speech was. Was the thesis simple?
Yes.
Okay. What did he do that was unexpected to you, that grabbed your attention in a way that you wouldn't have normally been grabbed? Did he have something structured or built into this speech that was unexpected? Did you? Well, let's ask the author first. Did you design anything in unexpected to make it sticky?
Well, I tried to incorporate you, and I thought that would kind of like
Okay.
take the
Quoting the
audience
professor, yeah.
by shock.
It was good for kissy points. That's good. I love hearing my own words given back to me. Sure. Okay, that's unexpected. Okay, that's fair. But in the future, you want to look for certain things that grab you. You know, good writers, good movies. They have trick endings, unexpected endings that you're not ready for, that surprise you. Ooh, wow, I didn't see that coming. And you gasp, ooh. And that's the kind of, the wow factor that you want to get from unexpected. It's an attention management device that you want to use on your most critical point if you can. So when you plow into your text, you'll begin to understand better that unexpected chapter and how it functions to make a speech sticky. Okay. Credibility. How is his credibility?
Good.
Name?
Hi guys, my name is Michael.
Hi, Michael.
Hi, Mike.
I thought he had a lot of credibility. I counted maybe three different sources. So he cited them. He gave the dates.
Yeah.
Reputable news sources, I'd say. So yeah.
So that was good. There's credibility is operating on two levels. One, his arguments from authority, which he cited. Daily News doesn't really thrill me personally.
Right.
I'd rather hear something from The Economist but whatever. I'm a snob, but that's just me. But they were decent. In other words, or the Wall Street Journal at least. But he did have the Wall Street Journal, so that was good. But there's his own credibility, which is, trustworthiness, expertness, and dynamism is also something the audience is considering. And as Sharon pointed out, his dynamism was lacking. His expertness was pretty good. He seemed earnest, and he seemed trustworthy, right? So your own credibility was pretty good, except for the dynamism.
Yeah.
Okay? So now, we have the next question. Was he too abstract or was he concrete enough? Stand up, say your name. Speech class.
Hi, my name is Justin.
Hi, Justin.
I think he was pretty concrete.
You're mumbling.
Oh, I think he was pretty.
That man has he's hard of hearing.
I think you're pretty concrete in that you lay your points well and you just follow through. Nothing.
There's nothing real abstract,
Yeah.
algorithms in here. It was just pretty concrete, yeah.
Thank you.
You want to avoid the abstraction. And then finally, did he make an emotional connection with you? This is tricky. How do you make an emotional connection with your audience? Have you read that chapter yet? Oh, Elsie has. Yeah, I know he's down on Elsie. Well, what is an emotional connection? Why is it important? And why does it make a speech sticky? I'll come to you, Elsie, after I hear from your compatriot.
Hi everyone, I'm Anthony.
Hi,
Hi,
Anthony.
Anthony.
It's important because you need to give something for people to, you need to leave something for people that resonates with people, so they walk away from the speech feeling like they took something away personal, right? So they can reflect on it later and think about it.
Not really. Close, but I want to get the emotional connection. How do you make, what's an emotional connection? Emotional connection. I'll repeat it again. Someone else want to give it a try besides Elsie? You look like you're full of answers today.
Hello, my name is Mohammed.
Hi, Mohammed.
I guess an emotional connection would be while you're speaking, I understand exactly what you're saying, and I feel what you're saying through the words, and they get
Now
to me.
we're getting warm. We're talking about feeling.
Yeah, they get to me. I guess is like.
Okay, we're getting warmer. Okay. Getting warmer. The first thing is the speaker has to communicate feeling, a passion.
Mm.
Okay. I feel strongly about this. I'm glad Donald Trump has, set an agenda that's got people that come out and care again. I'm glad he's talking about immigration. I'm glad he's talking about, protecting our own people first before we begin, letting in thousands and hundreds of people. That kind of passion, you go, oh, wow, he feels, and I feel kind of that too, see? But he has to communicate an emotion first. He's got to feel it himself, and then you'll feel it, see? And then you connect with it. But he's got to, come with an emotion too. See what I was getting at? That's what I was trying to get at from your end.
Yeah, that's what
That's what you're trying to
that's
say,
what
right?
like the red.
Okay, now let's have Elsie give us the right answer.
Oh gosh, Patrick. Hi everybody, my name is Elsie.
Hi, Elsie.
What I remember reading, an emotional connection is about getting your audience to care. And it's more than are they listening or do they believe me or do they understand, but do they care? And to make that emotional connection, it's easier to connect with emotions that people already have, with associations and things that they already have feelings about, rather than to try and generate raw emotions. And so I think that, pulling on the associations of how we would already feel about the Republican Party or interest versus disinterest in the election, it was a good thing.
Yeah, let's take it even a step further. Can you stay standing a moment, Elsie? What Elsie is getting at is you have to do some audience analysis and think about, does your audience have some fears about being safe? Do you fear running a Boston Marathon for fear of pressure cookers going to blow you up? Do you fear going to meetings because someone's going to pull a shotgun out, AK-47 and shotgun and machine gun you down? You fear going to a concert of the Metal Eagles in Paris and being mowed down in a concert venue? That's probably at least a little fear that some people are thinking or feeling in the audience. There's some fear of terrorism, and so that's something that's already out there a little bit, right? Or something else like that, but you do the analysis. You think, what are they thinking? and then you connect with that. You say, I'm worried about this. I bet you are too. And your point was, it's easier to get them to care if they already care. And Aristotle called that the enthymeme, the missing premise, where you don't even have to say it, right? Because the audience fills it in. Oh yeah, that's right. You don't even have to say it. See? Major premise, minor premise, conflict, right? But Aristotle said the most powerful one is where the audience fills in one of the premises, because then they get involved in your argument, see? And that's what you want to do, is get your audience involved in your arguments by letting them fill in some of the premises that you're making in your argument. So that's one way, is to do audience analysis. The other way is to generate it from yourself and to feel it yourself and get them to feel it. Right? And there are people, for those of you that are interested, I co-wrote a film called Listen to Me about a debate team. And when the girl was arguing for abortion in front of the Supreme Court, one of the things that happened was she told a story. She relived a moment when she got an abortion. And it was a very, very moving moment in the speech. Jamie Gertz happened to play the actress that did this. But it connected emotionally with everybody. Whereas just dull statistics about, oh, there are 54,000 abortions, we shouldn't have any more. It's one thing to hear the statistics, and another thing to hear a story. And it's another person to hear someone's hurt and regret over having gotten an abortion, right? And so that's a way to make an emotional connection. And then finally, the last thing that makes this sticky is to tell stories and more stories. So, did you get a lot of stories from our friend today?
Hi, my name is Brianna.
Hi, Brianna.
As far as like narratives go, I don't think I heard a lot out of this speech, but I think that the double-edged sword in the opening left a good imagery for me, and it kind of symbolized where the U.S. is going and how the election can end up.
Might turn out. Yeah.
Exactly, so I think that worked well.
Brianna, while you're standing, it seemed to me, and maybe you could help him, it seemed to me that Trump in particular lends himself to a lot of stories. Trump stories, right? Mm-hmm. Right? Like, give him some.
Some Trump stories?
Yeah.
Oh, well, from what I remember seeing in Trump's speeches, he does a lot of imagery in terms of like Mexicans hopping over the border and they're taking all of our jobs, and he paints it so that these people are some aliens who are out to get us, and he really stirs like this negative, angry emotion in the far right where they look at people that are immigrants as just the devil. So I think it works for him because he...
Okay. I'm going to build a wall, and the Mexicans are going to pay for it, is part of that story. Or, you know, one of his ads showed, you know, later when the fact checker turned out to be the immigrants were in Europe that were running across the German border. They weren't Mexican immigrants at all, but no details, yeah. But you know, he paints. You could tell that story about Trump. You could tell the story about Trump and his, I don't know how to say it graciously, but his concern. Well, I'll say it politely. His concern about Muslims and what he said about them. Those would have added to your and the positive stories too.
And then again, I agree with you. You're absolutely right. But none of his stories, because of his rhetoric, none of it is supportive to my argument.
So there are stories you could have come up with that could have supported your as a storyteller. You know, I did this. I'm a great negotiator. I negotiated this. I did that, and his accomplishments, and tell some of the stories that he told and
Okay.
tell Trump stories.
Maybe as far as him being a businessman?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, good. Thank you very
you.
much. Okay, can you erase the board, and can we have the next person sign in while Lala comes forward? Okay. Give him a moment to, and while he's writing, come to the front row and speak to your audience and ask her how her weekend was. Did she party hardy, stuff like that?
How was your weekend? Not appropriate. No, my weekend.
Censored, huh? Okay. Uneventful, not appropriate. I guess you didn't spend it studying, huh? Okay. Okay, you need to, don't come in front of that. Okay, go back a little bit, yeah. No, come forward, yeah. Right. Okay. Lala stands before us, managing attention, communicating respect nonverbally, saying to herself, I respect my audience. She's finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. She's going to speak to us on the topic, will Syrian President Bashar al-Assad stay in power in 2016?
Hi everyone, my name is Lala.
Hi Lala.
Before I start, I want to give some historical background about the civil war taking place in Syria. It began early in 2011 due to nationwide protests against Syria's President Bashar al-Assad and his regime. Gradually, the protests turned into armed rebellion and military sieges. Now in 2016, there's foreign involvement in Syria. And throughout the years, the international community has called on the president to step down with no success. Now it's been 5 years since the start of the war, and he's still in power, and I believe that he tends to stay in power for the rest of the year. The question I'm going to answer today is, will Syrian President Bashar al-Assad stay in power in 2016? And my answer is yes. And with the 3 points I'm going to discuss in my speech today, I believe it will be very clear why. The topic I'm talking about today might seem unimportant because it is happening on the other side of the globe. But in reality, as long as Syria's president remains in power and as long as the chaos continues to reign in the Middle East, I believe that if he continues to have the 3 points I'm going to talk about today, he will remain in power till then. So the first reason why I believe that he will remain in power in 2016 is because of the two-front war taking place between ISIS and Western countries. The reason is to fight ISIS, Iran has given President Bashar al-Assad more money, and Russia has given President Bashar al-Assad more weapons. And although Western countries desperately want to topple ISIS, they aren't willing to do so at the cost of propping up Assad. For example, the U.S. country has already tried to train Syrian rebels to fight ISIS in their stead, and after investing over $500 million, they only have a handful of American-trained Syrian rebels to show for it, according to Ian Bremmer with Time Online, published September 2015. I feel this way because although there are many external pressures from the international community for Syria's president to step down, I believe as long as the allies continue to support his regime and help him fight ISIS, it is clear that as long as ISIS remains a threat or is abolished, his allies will continue to support him. Now, the second reason why I believe Syria's President Bashar al-Assad will remain in power in 2016 is because Russia, their strongest ally, is back in the Middle East. Since the early stages of the war, Russia has continually provided Syria with technical, financial, military, and political support. The massive deployment of arms, planes, and bases since last September is a clear indicator that these bases are not temporary and will not be dismantled and shipped back home anytime soon. And according to Sami Mubayed, correspondent for Gulf News, published December 2015. I believe that as long as Syria and Russia are involved in this proxy war with anti-regime countries like the United States and Turkey, he will remain in power and his regime will continue. The third reason why I believe that Syrian President Bashar al-Assad will remain in power in 2016 is that Syria will not hold votes for new president or parliament until August of 2017. Although it's been 5 years since President Barack Obama first called on Syria's president to step down, the U.S. State Department has recently stated, according to their internal timeline, that they believe President Bashar al-Assad will remain in power until at least August of 2017, according to Matthew Lee and Bradley Clapper, reporters from the Associated Press, published January 2016. I feel this way because obviously the climbing death toll of his people, approximately 200,000 deaths, probably even more, and the growing power of ISIS is not enough pressure to force him out of office. Hopefully diplomatic measures, if they obviously don't become corrupted, can possibly force him out of office. But till then, I believe that at least until August 2017, there's a really good chance that he's going to remain in power. So in summary, I've provided you with 3 reasons why I believe Syria's President Bashar al-Assad will stay in power in 2016. The first reason is the two-front war taking place between ISIS and Western countries. Second was Russia being back in the Middle East. And the third reason was that Syria is not holding votes for a new president or parliament until August of 2017. I believe that the 3 points I have provided you with today make my argument very clear that Syria's president is not going anywhere anytime soon, at least according to the internal timeline, not until next year. And as long as he remains in office, I believe the violence and the chaos will continue in the Middle East. So, yeah, that's it.
And to tie back to my introduction.
To tie back from my introduction, as you see, the 3 points that I have discussed make it very clear that the violence will continue in the Middle East, and President Bashar al-Assad will bring chaos.
Thank you. 5:44. Okay, let's see, we're over here, right? We'll go here. Yes, sir.
Hi everyone, my name's Justin.
Hi, Justin.
I think you did a really good job doing like a quick history lesson and then giving a lot of facts because I honestly didn't know that much about the war and stuff. So I think after your speech, I had a good I know like your background and like a lot was going on.
Okay, good. You felt you needed to know a little bit more about Syria before you launched into all the minutiae. Okay, good, thank you. Improvement, sir.
Hi, my name's Susan.
Hi, Susan.
I really liked the speech overall, but the only improvement I thought was needed was I thought it was a bit too fast.
Yeah.
A lot of information that was just like thrown out there that kind of
Right, rat-a-tat-tat, huh, yeah. And she had plenty of extra time. She only used 5 something, so yeah.
I skipped my significance thing.
Yeah, why is that?
I don't know, I just blanked out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let me start with a positive comment. You really didn't need your notes. You hardly referred to them. I would recommend you get them off of them. It hurts your credibility a little bit. But you clearly researched this topic and knew a great deal about it, and so you were credible. And so that was good.
Some stuff has changed with Russia, actually, with Saudi Arabia now, because they made a contract, and Moscow recently stated that they're actually willing to stop supporting President Bashar al-Assad. But that happened after I did my my
Yeah.
outline, so I just changed it.
Yeah, and what I would say is when those things happen, as the first speaker pointed out when he was worried some people would know of more recent events about the debates, don't be afraid to, be flexible and make little subtle changes and things to incorporate it, and don't just stay with, the static speech. So, well, your intro. I have suggested to people they start with a poem, a quote, a story, a joke, probably not a joke in this instance, a quote, a rhetorical question. You chose to start with your history. Now, that was interesting. I think it could have come in your SIG statement, and you still could have grabbed your audience better. I think there's an awful lot of good quotes about how many people have died and have fled Syria in the millions that are real arresting facts that I would have gone with. See? So, hey, folks, this is a disaster. Or, if you're so politically inclined, you could have talked about President Obama's famous red line, don't cross it, that everyone walked across. And, oh, never mind, there are a million things you could talk about in Syria that could have been a more effective grabber rather than sort of a boring history, to be blunt about it, okay?
Because I know most people don't know about it, so I thought if I begin with that, then people would
That's fine.
understand.
Yeah, you began with it, but I'm just saying you sacrificed a little of the grabber, what you need to do when you're starting out. Could have been incorporated into your SIG statement. Your thesis, when you watch yourself tonight on YouTube, you will see that you didn't want to, for some reason, give a detailed preview of where you were going. And a short but detailed preview is helpful. It sets a roadmap for your audience. And so I would have put that short preview in. As you pointed out, you skipped the preview after I just said on his speech, don't skip the preview. So, whatever. But, this is where you sell it. And you make it relevant. And you had some good points in here that you presented and wrote. So, on your first reason, yes, Iran and Russia are supporting them and giving them boatloads of money. And those were well documented. One thing I want to point out to all of you folks is you notice that she gave her citation at the end of her quotes. I prefer, if you can, to put it at the beginning, and that sort of, tells us that it's a quote, and we can assess the credibility and the recentness of the date early on, before we hear the quote. But it was okay at the end, but I prefer it to be at the beginning. Now, your second paragraph was all of them you had said, I feel. And I was looking here, when you put in the I feel, was to put in some emotional connection about this and to say, I feel strongly about this, that this is really rotten and bad, that these two countries are pouring all this money in, and I think the carnage is going to continue. Something more feeling like than just, I feel it's going to continue, see? But put some feelings behind the I feel there, see? Yeah. On your second reason, Russia, you're right. They're not temporary, and it's iffy if they're going to stop supporting Assad. I heard that too, though. So, yeah. On your third point, elections in 2017. That's quite a ways off. So, and you point out that there have probably been more than 200,000 deaths. Your summary was very good. Your conclusion was good. You didn't have much to tie back to. You kind of ended not with a bang, but kind of a whimper, right? Because you didn't really have something to go back to, see? You didn't have this crisp death or quotes or carnage that you started with, the slaughter that's going on in that country, or the mass migration that's happening. My God, it's awful. On your goals, your canais, you said, speak confidently, walk on my points, and hold my audience's attention. How did it go?
I think I spoke confidently,
Uh-huh.
except towards the end. For
Yeah.
the conclusion, I did walk on my points, and
Yes, you did.
as of grabbing my audience's attention,
Yeah.
it looked like most people were paying attention the whole time.
Yeah, they were. I think that, like the last speaker, you could benefit from yellowing keywords, working on a more emphatic style of delivery where keywords are emphasized. You know, when you say 200,000 deaths, you know, as was pointed out back here, you got 200,000 deaths. It's just like another word in your sentence, right? And we want to emphasize with an emphatic style of delivery. As far as making your speech stickier, I thought you had a simple message. It was very clear. You wouldn't say, I didn't know, maybe, maybe not. I mean, it was very clear. He's not going anywhere, regardless of what the United States wants or anybody else. And I agree with you. What did you design into the speech that was unexpected?
I was hoping the history lesson in the beginning, because as I thought most people don't know about it, so that would grab everyone's attention.
Yeah, it was okay. It wasn't.
Yeah.
If you read the chapter, it wasn't one of the great unexpected things, but it was important to do. But work on having something more radical in the way of unexpected to really wake people up from their slumber or their daydreaming in the audience they're listening to. Because, let's face it, Trump is kind of an interesting topic. Syria, as this gentleman pointed out, I don't know where it is, don't know much about it, probably don't care much about it. It's way over there. We don't have too many boots on the ground there, So it's up to you to generate some interest and get people to care, yeah. On your credibility, as I said, you're credible, but you could pick up your emphatic, your remember the credibility has your expertness, your trustworthiness, and your dynamism. If you slow down and become more dynamic in your delivery, you will be more effective and more sticky. Emotional connection. This speech has built-in emotional stuff, but you didn't use it so effectively.
My significant statement.
Yeah. There and other places, there's dead bodies all over Syria, and people flee. That's horrendous conditions, and he's bombing his people with chemical weapons that he claims he got rid of. It's a horrendous thing that's happening there in Syria.
For my significant statement, I was talking about the international refugee crisis that has come out from this. So
Right.
I mentioned that.
Yeah, it's an awful thing. And then, as far as an emotional connection, you need to feel it and feel bad for the Syrian refugees so they will feel it too. And you need to think, as you heard Elsie point out, you need to think, what emotions have my audience already felt about Syria, so I can tap into those and make them feel them again, see? That'll help you make an emotional connection. You won't have to do so much work, okay? And then stories and more stories. Stories of refugees, stories of, like I told, barrel bombs, stories of Russian atrocities, stories of Russia bombing American positions, not ISIS. Little stories are good to tell. Okay, thank you. Lala. Okay. Do we have someone else that can put their work on the board? Lala, can you erase yours? Hello. He's Soong, right?
Yeah, he's in.
He's Sing.
Sim.
He-sung.
He-sung.
He-sung, I got it. Don't call me he-sung. Okay, he-sung. Okay, and do we have another volunteer that could put their name up on the board? Yes, we need another volunteer. Mr. UCLA Brother. Yeah, go for it. Okay, so ask him about his weekend, yeah?
Great. The midterm, what is it, Thursday? So studying for that, sleep deprived as usual. How about yours?
Same thing. I was actually.
Midterm or sleep
I should have
deprived?
been
Or
both. I should have been
makes sense.
studying, but I was like following the focus and stuff.
You were what?
I was following
Oh,
the focus.
Oh, I see, the Iowa thing?
Yeah, I was like.
Are you, do you have you don't have to answer if it's too private, but do you have a stake in one of the horses? Do you care more about the Republicans or Democrats? Or?
I care more about the Democrats.
The
Party,
Democrats?
But in terms of like the candidates,
Did you have a horse in the race?
No.
You don't care more. You weren't feeling the burn?
Not yet. Not yet.
Okay.
Professor, if you don't mind me asking, do you have a stake in the race?
No. I'm worried about the race is what I'm worried about. I'm worried about Trump. Yeah.
Sorry, Professor, I have an overlapping conflict with a class. I was having a midterm today.
Yeah, your hat's on. That worries me. I guess that means you're making like a tree and leaving?
Yeah.
A banana and splitting? Yeah. Have you done your speech?
No, not yet. It's got to be next week, for sure.
Well, why didn't you volunteer?
Because I was just so preoccupied with the midterm that I probably wouldn't be able to do it today anyway. And it starts in like 15 minutes.
Okay, whatever. You haven't done your first speech yet, right? Wow. Okay. Well, whatever.
I'll do it.
Okay.
Thank you, sorry.
Maybe we'll have you do 2 next time. Yeah.
Both.
First and second. Yeah. Well, I'll get you for your slacking off. Yeah. Okay. And we are rolling on he-sung. Or something close to that. Here, right? Uh-huh. Okay, let me find my glasses so I can't see the board. Who's going to give us, oh, you need to step 1 step forward. Thank you. Ooh, yeah, okay. 1 step back. Yeah, like this. Perfect, yeah. What steps can be taken to lead peace, I guess to peace, between Israel and Palestine? Wow, big question. And to address it is he-sung.
Hello everyone, my name is He-sing.
He-sing.
I would like to start off my speech with some statistics that I researched while reading into the topic of Israeli and Palestinian conflicts. Just in 2014, according to the research done by the United Nations, alone in the Gaza Strip, there were 2,104 Palestinians and 74 Israeli people that were killed in the conflict that happened in the Gaza Strip. Among those numbers, 1,469 were civilian, and among those numbers, 495 were children. These numbers reflect the atrocities and the bloodshed that occurs in the Gaza Strips on a daily basis. As we sit here in a classroom thousands of miles away, on the other side of the globe, we must recognize that these numbers are real and these people are being killed and abused on a day-to-day basis. And we must also recognize that these are people that are the same age as us, with the same family, and the same circumstance, and the same desire to grow up and achieve their own dreams. I believe that this question is a very broad and sometimes a question that can't be answered in a speech, 8-minute speech. But I believe that we must first recognize recognize the troubles that these people go through on a day-to-day basis in order to recognize the problems and the solutions were featured. So today, I'm here to ask the question, what steps can be taken to lead peace between Israel and Palestine? My answer to that is a three-step analysis. First is an education through a grassroots movement. Second is a recognition of state. And third is a revised two-state solution. Before I begin my three-step analysis, I wanted to give a little background on how this conflict started in the first place. Back in the early 1800s, a small group of immigrants came from Europe called Zionists, a small group of the Jewish population. They came to seek their homeland in the Palestinian state, the Western Bank. And ever since then, there has been a continuous battle between who owns the rights to the land and Jerusalem. And this dates back all the way to the current status quo, where there are continual battles between the Palestinians and the Israelis on the control of the West Bank. Currently, Palestinians do not control the West Bank anymore, and that's why it's been such a controversial topic between who owns the rights to the land of Jerusalem. So going into my three-step analysis, first is my education through grassroots movements. I believe that education is key for the young community in Israel and Palestine in order to recognize the atrocities and the bloodshed that happened in history. According to Orevi, a staff attorney at the Golden Gate University, states in his article in 2013 that grassroots movements are actually slowly starting to happen in the status quo right now. There are conventions such as the Combatants of Peace and the Parent Circle Forum, which creates opportunity for individuals to communicate with one another and to recognize the differences that Israeli and Palestinian communities have together. I believe that this is key because it creates a further framework for individuals who are kids right now, but later on who will grow up to be more involved politically and socially. And I believe this is key to actually creating a solution ahead. Going back to the Parent Circle, it creates a convention for 30,000 kids who have been affected by the conflict, both in Israel and Palestine, and creates a forum for them to discuss the atrocities that they go through and the experiences that individuals have within this community. Second is the recognition of state. Currently, Palestine is not an official member of the United Nations. I believe that in order for Palestine to be in talks with Israel in terms of peace, there has to be a recognition of their statehood and religion. According to John Kilcullen, a senior research fellow at Macquarie University, in his article states that in order for peace talks to resume, the recognition of statehood and religion must be recognized by Israel and international community. He further indicates that the international community must not get involved, but rather just be in support of Palestine and Israel in their talks. I believe this is key because Palestine has not been recognized by Israel or the international community as of today. Going back to the United Nations, they must be admitted as an official member in order for the international community to actually recognize their statehood. Second, Israel needs to actually recognize Palestine as a state and also recognize the election that occurred in the past year in order for them to actually respect them in terms of peace talk. Third is a revised two-state solution. I believe that a revised two-state solution must be recognized because the two-state solutions that have occurred in the past has failed because of the negligence of the third party. There has been so many attempts of peace talks in the past. However, it has failed because of ulterior motives and different desires used by different communities in order to use Israel and Palestinian peace as their advantage. For example, the United States has constantly been in constant connection to Israel and Palestine in terms of peace talk. However, according to Ziad Abu Zayed, a co-editor and publisher of Palestine-Israel Journal, indicates that the United States alone per year uses $8 million in lobbying in terms of Israeli funds, which indicates that there are ulterior motives that could hinge on the peace talks between Israel and Palestine. I believe that this is key because it creates a mutual respect among the two states without any other actors being involved in order to create peace talks. In conclusion, I stated 3 steps to lead to peace among Israel and Palestine. First, being an education through grassroots movements for the younger generation. Second is a recognition of state for Palestine in order for them to gain respect among the international community. And third is a revised two-state solution which creates both states on a mutual level playing ground where they can talk about peace talks. At the end, going back to the statistics that I've read in the introduction, I believe that these numbers can sometimes feel very distant to us. It may just be a news on CNN or NBC that we read or watch or hear about on the radio on a day-to-day basis. However, we need to really take into consideration the real impacts that are happening in that area and the atrocities that people go through. I would like to end my speech with a favor for you guys. To be frank, I had no idea what was happening in Israel-Palestine because, to be honest with you, I had no interest in that area. However, through the research that I've done, I've read about a lot of the examples of atrocities and the bloodshed that is occurring in the status quo. I urge you guys to get involved, not only just in terms of awareness, but also just in terms of reading about it and educating yourself about the conflicts that are happening in the status quo. Like just last week on Broomwalk, there was a massive forum where they were educating the people of UCLA on the conflicts that are happening in Palestine. And I urge you guys to just get involved in those communities and educate yourself in order to be more aware of the atrocities that are happening in the status quo.
Thank you. 8:07. Okay. We're somewhere back here. Yes, sir.
Hi guys, my name is Vahag.
Hi, Vahag.
There are 2 main things that I really liked. One of them is that you had statistics, and you made the statistics personal. It's like it's human lives. It's not just like random numbers that people throw out. And the last thing, that you made a connection to us as UCLA students that there's actually something that we can do. Get involved. It's not just, oh, you just sit at home, you watch news. There's things that are going on campus that are like 50 feet away that we can go. There's like organizations that we can like discuss things with. So I really like that.
Sold it to the audience. Improvement.
Hi, my name is Elsie.
Hi, Elsie.
Well, I have to say to start off with, I thought the beginning and end of your speech were just like golden bookends. I thought those were really great. So I just wanted to say that. As far as improvements, I think content-wise, the talk about the parent circle and those programs that are already in place could have done with some very concrete imagery of 2 people sitting at a table across from each other. It seemed like there was an opportunity there to make a very vivid mental image for us that I think could be really good. And then the other point was, as far as delivery, you walked, but you kind of walked the whole time, in the sense that it was sort of like wandering around the stage area a little bit. So the movement was really good because it kept us visually interested, but was perhaps a little aimless seeming at first.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your comments. I agree with them. Agree with both comments. Yes. You took a point of view and presented it, and that was excellent. I felt that, let me say that the difficulty in this controversy is that both sides, both the Israelis and the Palestinians, need to want to have peace and to recognize each other's right to exist and so forth, and to cease the aggression against each other, not just one side but both sides, right? So that would have been a balanced comment to put in your speech. On your introduction, really, I agree with Elsie. They were excellent. You did what your book talks about, not just citing aimless statistics, but used them in a way that were effective. That these aren't just numbers, but they're people, and they're hurting, and they're feeling, and they're dying, and it was really well put. So you grabbed us, you drew us in, and you got us to want to hear more about your speech, so that was good. You need to get some, I don't know, crazy glue and glue your feet to the ground, because when you watch yourself tonight on YouTube, you will see I had to just, do this with the camera constantly to follow you. You need to walk purposefully on the 3 points, stand and deliver. Just stand still. I know it's hard, but stand still till you get to your first point. Walk over there. One, let's see you walk properly. Yeah, see, now that wasn't proper. So come back to the beginning. Okay. Keep cheated forward and walk to the right. 1, 2, 3. Stand there. Give us your first point. Now 5 steps to the right, keeping cheated forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Give us your second point. Stay right there. Second point. Power stance is that. And 1, 2, 3, back to center, keeping cheated forward. And your third and final point and your conclusion. That will be much more effective and not distracting. I was getting dizzy watching you. The background was excellent. On how it came to be, it was short and sweet. People have written books, encyclopedias about the background of this, and you got it in a paragraph, so that was fine. I like that you opened with the the education and the grassroots and the sort of from the ground up, people searching for dialogue and peace. I thought that was good. On your recognition of state, okay, that was fine. Just my only comment, of course, is that this has to work 2 ways. Yeah. So, obviously. And then your 2-state solution, you indicted the U.S. for using money in ways that you felt were not correct. So, I would just say, some of your sources, I would have liked to have seen a little more balance in your presentation. Your sources were, in my judgment, a little one-sided. But you were making a case for one position on this, and so that's where you got your information. That's fine. Your summary was good. Your conclusion and tieback were superb. You had 3 goals. Speak without unnecessary pauses and no ums. Be more organized in terms of giving the full citation. And give a clear and concrete tieback. How'd it go?
I thought the first one, I did have, I stumbled a lot. I was trying to, process the information, so, the way I delivered it was a little different. So I think I could definitely work on that better.
Okay. How will you work on that?
I think I just need to more process the information, more concretely before I give the speech.
Okay.
I think that's gonna help me stutter less and say less or make
What I would say is if you say it aloud with a live person listening to you, not just a mirror, but a live person listening to you 6 times, you will get the processing going really smoothly. Okay. What about the second and third one? Citation and
citation. I tried to give all my citation and the background, but I think the one that I was lacking was where I actually found the article.
Right.
It was kind of hard for me to tie that into my speech.
Right.
While also giving a background to and also the date. So I thought I don't want it to be too wordy where I'm just standing here giving a 10-second citation to where I got it, who we did. So,
gotcha. Just realize there's a trade-off, because that's what, and sometimes it will give you your credibility. Of course, from the Harvard Law Journal or something, then people go, ooh, they stand up and listen. Let's talk about how to make your speech more sticky. Well, did you have a simple thesis? How simple was his thesis? Anybody think it was simple? Simple enough? Needed to be simplified more? It's pretty simple. Okay. So pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You had 3 points, so it was pretty clear. What was unexpected in your speech? Did you put something in unexpected to grab your audience, to suddenly wake them up from their stupor of dreaming about where they're going to do after this class?
Well, at least for me, when I was researching the statistics that I researched, was kind of like attention grabbing for me. So that's why I used it in my intro, so that I could grab the audience's attention.
Okay, that was pretty unexpected, the way you took your statistics and then, personalized them. So that was pretty good. Credibility of yourself and your sources. I thought you could work on your delivery so that it's a little more emphatic and because you were earnest and you seemed believable and truth-seeking in your delivery, and you seemed pretty knowledgeable about the topic. Just the dynamics of your delivery and the walking was a little distracting. And just because I debated this stupid topic for 38 years on this campus, I know these sources, and so, I was a little put off by them, but that's just your bad luck drawing me as your judge. I
used the thing that we learned in the Click Lab, and they were like all the articles. They were all from the same journal too.
Right.
The first 2 pages were just all the same journals, but different authors in the same journal.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then emotions. Your emotional connection with your audience. Did he connect with you? He hasn't spoken yet. Hear from this gentleman behind Elsie.
Oh, sorry. I don't know what to say.
We'll start with your name.
Oh, hi, my name's Anthony.
Hey.
Hi, Anthony. Just be honest. If it's no, say no.
No.
Okay, that's honest. Yeah. So you didn't really connect with this Israeli-Palestinian problem. It was just kind of, you went on and on about it, and you didn't really get into it, right?
Well, and the reason I say no is because as a poli-sci major, I'm constantly dwelling with this issue. So it's not something that's like a shocker to me when I'm just, so I'm a little bit different. Whereas if I was like a different, if I was involved in a different kind of subject, it would be more, wow, what's going on, we need to do something. But, I'm thinking about this issue quite a bit, so it's not much of a shocker to me. That's why I know. But, yeah, but.
And remember, it's not just that, I'm talking about emotional. Did you remember that thing about, did you feel he had a passion for it, and did you get your passion going about it? No.
No.
Yeah. You want to contribute, yes, sir.
Hi guys, my name is Michael.
Hi, Michael.
I'd have to disagree with him. I'm also a poli-sci major, not well versed on the issue, but I think he definitely did make an emotional appeal. Maybe it wasn't the emotion in his voice, but he definitely got us to, you got my interest when you made a call for action that, hey, go to your Bruins for Israel or Social Justice for Palestine, whatever side of the issue you're on, or if you want to learn for the other side. I felt like if you didn't care about the issue, you probably might a little more now that you made that call.
Mm-hmm. And someone in the back said they thought that was compelling, and they're going to do that. So yeah, okay, good. Just on that issue, just as you heard me say to others, if you can work up a passion and a sense in your voice of outrage that you really care, and that can come through in your delivery. It's sort of like, I don't know if you've seen the movie Network, but there's a guy that leans out his window and says, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. A very famous moment in a movie. But I didn't really get the sense you were very mad as hell about this. I got a sense you were a little upset. And then finally, stories. We always want the more stories we can put in our speeches, the better off we're going to be. Okay? Thank you. Okay, well, do we have, we have Brazil, and do we have another person? Can you erase the board, and we'll have another person come on up? You're Brazil, huh? Yep. Well, let me give you, speak with this girl about her wild weekend at the Ray. I have to